Hi everyone! Welcome, welcome. I am so thrilled you are here. Welcome to Keeping an Inspiration Sketchbook and 5 ideas to unleashing your creative voice. This is a fun free masterclass, and I have a fun presentation for you. We are going to dive in and you're gonna do a little brainstorming and some play, and I'm also gonna share a few ideas with you to help you discover your creative voice if you need to find it. Also, it's a creative voice or artistic style. Really, it's the foundation of creating art that is uniquely you. So, I'm excited. We have a lot of people here. We have let me look at the chat. It's going fast. Okay, let me see who's here. Welcome, everybody. Glenda, she's here from Nevada. Audrey from Central Florida. Hey, Cheryl from Pennsylvania. HF, we've got another Canadian in the house. Lil from Florida. Arizona. Hey, Marlene. Hey, Marcy. Vicky from Australia. Hope from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Wow, it always amazes me that I get such a worldwide audience to show up for my live events and live sessions. So thank you so much if you are here. If you are watching this in the replay, welcome. You can come back to this link anytime you want here inside Crowdcast. If you're watching this on YouTube Live, you'll be able to see the replay in YouTube Live for a short amount of time. So who else is here? Francesca, hi, from Ireland. Hey, Mary. Iowa, Chicago. Hey, Judith from Kansas City. Wow, okay. We have a lot of people here. I'm so excited. Hey, Roz and Pamela. And for those of you who are lurking in the background, hello too. I see we have some of you who are here but have not said hi yet. So I would love to know if any of you, if this is your first live stream with me, if you want to put a 1 in the chat. I just always want to get a feel for who is here. And I recognize many of your names and some of your photos. So thank you for coming back and spending your time with me. I'm hoping that I'll be done in an hour, but you know me, sometimes I go for about an hour and a half or so. So if you have to leave at any time, you can always come back and watch the replay. Feel free to come back at your own leisure. But if you stay till the end, I've got a fun bonus for anybody who stays around. So welcome to all my first timers. Awesome to have you here. I hope that you get a lot out of this. I do public live stream sessions usually once every quarter. I just did one I think it was last week, one or a few times a quarter. So today there's a little bit of teaching, a little bit of play, like I said, for those of you who just got here. And I'm going to share a little bit about one of my new programs that's coming up. So, hey, Jessica, I saw you come in. Lots of people from the West Coast and East Coast, New York, New Jersey, Milano, Italy. Thank you for being here. Who is that? Susanna. That's amazing. Okay, everybody. So I have a presentation I'm going to share with you. And what you need today, I know Katje, I think Katje, is that her name? Yes, had asked earlier, what kind of supplies do you need? So today you just need a sketchbook and a pencil or a pen. If you have mixed media supplies around, you could probably play with those too. Or if you have an iPad and an Apple Pencil, that will work too. I am going to be sharing lots of things with you and also doing a little show and tell, and we'll play a little bit. So get ready to dive in and have some fun. I have a little poll for you. So let me just show you really quick. If you're viewing on the desktop. I don't know how many of you are on your desktop versus a mobile device or a tablet, but down at the bottom there's a little area here that says polls, and I would love to know if you use an inspiration sketchbook. And if you have no idea what that is, then no worries, but I'm going to be talking about it today. And then if you have a question, you can put it right here in the question and answers, ask a question tab. And I will get to the questions most likely more towards the end of our the broadcast when I do the Q&A session. So I just wanted to share that really quickly and give you a little bit of housekeeping there. So let me see, my chat is going so fast. There we go. Yes. So if you want to put your questions in the Q&A, that would be awesome, because sometimes I don't get to them. I can't see them if the chat is going really, really fast. And again, I just saw yours, Annie. Yes, all my live streams are recorded. So you can come right back to the Crowdcast window here, or you can also jump into YouTube and watch it there. Okay, so let me share with you a little presentation that I prepared. And there we go. Let's see. Let's just make this full screen so you can see it. I forgot to do this earlier. So you get to see a little behind the scenes. And I may take my picture off and on out of here, depending on where it's covering. Right now, it's covering my Keeping an Inspiration Sketchbook. So we're going to talk about unleashing your creative voice. How many of you do some type of sketchbook work every day or a few times a week? If you could put that in the chat, I'd love to get a feel for what you do. And if you do sketchbook work, what is it that you do in your sketchbooks while I start presenting? Okay, I think I have to turn off my camera for a little. That way I can not be in the presentation, or maybe I'll put myself down here for a minute until. I love it. Mary says, I do. Audrey says, yes, rough sketches, swatching, color palette explorations. Awesome. Mary, drawing and doodling. Marcy says, I try to sketch a day. Draw a few times a week, Hope says. Nice. And are most of you drawing or sketching inside a traditional sketchbook or digital sketchbook, like in Procreate or on an iPad? I would love to know. Okay, so while you're answering that, I have a question for you. What if you had a go-to process and framework that was repeatable each time you started a new series, a new body of work, a collection of pattern designs, for those of you who are surface pattern designs? How would it feel and what could you accomplish? So right now, for those of you who create work, do you feel that you have a creative process and something that you repeat every time? Could you put that in the chat too? And we've got a few people who use both traditional and Procreate. Awesome. Vicky also uses both. Hope and Glenda say traditional. Nice. So I would love to know what your creative process is, if you have one. You don't have to write a whole long thing, but I'd love to know if you do. If you do, what's the first thing you do in your creative process? So with the creative process that I use and that I've developed over the last 20 years, I have created a number of things, and I have a little little bit of a peek into some of those things here. But this is a process that I use for both my artwork that I create, for products that I design, and for even courses and workshops that I design. A lot of this playbook that I'm going to share today is kind of woven throughout my whole creative business and the artwork that I make. So I'm still trying to find a good place to put my picture. Let's move myself up here because I think that way I won't cover everything. So I have just a few things here that I wanted to share. These are things that I have created with the process that I'm going to share and talk a little bit about today, and how it's really honed my creative voice. And you can see that in the artwork that I produce and the products that I make. So many of you, if you're newer here in the last 5 years, you might know me just for my handmade watercolors and mixed media products. So my inspiration sketchbook is the foundation of this, how products are developed and how the collections are created. And it's also been the foundation for the artwork that I create, both mixed media paintings and digital collage or art journals that I make. It is woven into the surface pattern designs that I make for fabric and wallpaper and collage sheets. So the inspiration sketchbook that I keep, or the sketchbooks I should say, because I work in a few different formats, have really been the foundation of creating all of these colorful products that many of you have seen or been part of or purchased. And so digital kits and brushes, and even some of my licensed products. So one of my favorite projects that I ever worked on was the cover for the Mixed Media 400 series pad. And Strathmore had just recently posted a reel about their 400 series covers. And so I was pulling out some of the artwork recently, and the whole process of developing that collection, I had about 2 weeks to create a series of paintings that they were going to choose for the cover. They had commissioned me for this project back in 2016. And so my inspiration sketchbook and everything that I do in that process is what created that body of work. And so I just wanted to share that when you find your voice and when you have that artistic style, there's so many doors that can open up for you, from designing stencils, like my stencil girl line, to stamps that I've designed for my own line and for Stamping Tin over the years. So there are all of these pieces to my creative process that I have honed in on to create everything from artwork to collections to products. And so I just wanted to share with you that possibility, when you have that creative process and that go-to framework, that you can just dive in and you feel confident when you start painting. And I have lots of really amazing students and customers who have shared that they have got similar results using the process that I'm going to talk about today. So first we're going to start with talking a little bit about one of the things that I've heard from many students is like, I don't know where to start. So I just will follow what my teacher shows me, or I might jump online and look at Instagram or Pinterest and look at what another artist does, and then I'm just going to use their ideas and start. And it's a great place to learn, and especially if you're a beginner and you don't know a lot of different techniques. But what I want to share today, and what I really want to encourage you to do, is to find your artistic style and your authentic voice and put that into your work. And it's easily done by really getting back to you and who you are, what you love, and the things that you're passionate about. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today and how you can really dive into honing in on your own creative process. So, if I haven't met you yet, my name is Tracy Bautista, and many of you I've known for years. I have been in this market for a little over 20 years, but I'm an artist. I design products for a number of manufacturers and for my own company, and I'm an author. I've written 3 best-selling mixed media books, and I am an educator. I've been teaching for over 20 years, both to adults and K through 12. I started in tech. My degree's in graphic design, so I actually started in tech over 20 years ago and then started my business. So last year I celebrated 20 years as a creative entrepreneur, and I've designed a number of products and taught a lot of people over the last 20 years, both in person and online. So some of you I probably met years ago when I taught a lot in person. I used to travel like 3 weeks a month to teach all over the country and internationally. And many of you now I've known for the last 10 years maybe because you've taken an online workshop or one of my classes, or taken a live workshop like this. So just a little background of what I've done, just so that you know a little bit more about me. Lots of partnerships over the years, that companies I've developed product for, that I have been a designer for, and also collaborated with. I have an extensive network of partners and lots of great companies that I've worked with over the years. And it's all because of the artwork that I create. And so today, what we're going to do is talk about the ideas for your creative, unleashing your creative voice. And we're going to talk a little bit about how the Inspiration Sketchbook is the foundation for it. And then we'll talk about creative process. We'll talk about you and your creative process and the things that you love. We're going to do a little exercise to get you thinking a little differently about how to jumpstart your projects. Some of you who've been in my world for a while, you'll be familiar with the exercise we're going to do today. And then I'm going to give you an overview of my playbook, the process I use for capturing inspiration. And I'm going to invite you to join me for the newly updated and revised Inspiration Sketchbook interactive online program. It has been something I've been teaching throughout the last 20 years, and it's actually the subject of my next book, and I've been writing about it, so I am going to dive in and tell you more. And then we're going to play a little bit too. So that is what we're doing today. If you have to leave, no worries. You can always come back and watch the replay, but I encourage you to stick around so that you can work with us live. So what I'm going to share with you today, it really is all about starting with you. And I keep repeating it over and over because every one of us has such a different story to tell, and things that we have experienced, and the memories that we have, the places that we've traveled, our family, our history. And once you get to that place where you are taking all of that in and putting it and infusing it into your work, then you start to create this work that has your creative voice and that is different from what is out there. And so that's what I'm encouraging you to do today, is to think about all of those things. What stories do you have? Oh, I lost my video. Hold on. There we go. What stories do you have that you can tell in your work? If you followed my paint journey, my paint making journey, you know that every collection has a story. It has a theme. The idea, the essence, the feeling that I want somebody to get when they look at a paint, or when they use the paint. I want them to be whisked away to the Lanikai Beach area when they paint with the inks that I make that are inspired by my my everyday sunrise studio sessions there when I visit my family. So it's those little things that you can start to infuse into your creative practice that will make your artwork unique. So we're going to start with idea number 1. And I've talked about the Inspiration Sketchbook a few times today. I've mentioned it a number of times, but what is it? How do you incorporate it in your art? And everybody's different. So I have what I call the PLAYbook, which I'm going to share with you later. But there are bits and pieces of it that I incorporate in every project that I work on. And so what I'm going to do is do a little show and tell. I'm going to switch the camera to my desk in a minute and give you a little peek inside some of my sketchbooks. And so just so you can see kind of what I do, which is not like, I'm not saying you should do this exactly, but it definitely has helped me hone in on getting to a place where I'm creating art that is uniquely my voice. And so this can be digital or physical. It's a place to play and experiment. It can include anything you want. Like my sketchbooks, and when I flip through them, you'll see they are not pretty. Like they're not perfect. Every page is not like perfectly sketched out. It's not like a architectural diagram or beautiful urban sketching. A lot of mine is mark making. It's color palettes. It's where I collect ideas. It's where I make marks. And it really, I use it to document my artistic process and to write about my creative journey. So I am going to share with you some of my sketchbooks. And how did I skip to? I totally skipped to the end of the presentation somehow. Okay, let me move this way. Sorry about that. It's hard to, okay. There we go, okay. I think I accidentally pressed the bar at the bottom. Okay, now we're good. So let me switch down here and I'm gonna share with you some of the sketchbooks. Meanwhile, I'd love for you to, if you have a sketchbook or a notebook that you're working on, I'd love for you to share what, or just write what you use your sketchbook for. And does anybody not use a sketchbook? I would love to know if some of you don't at all use a sketchbook. When you work, what is your creative process? And I'm going to show you a few different things, and I'm going to try to do this quickly so that you're not bored with what I'm sharing. And just give you a quick flip through of some of the journals and sketchbooks that I have used or created through the years. And you'll notice, like, I have a bunch of different sizes, a bunch of different types. I don't stick to one particular type of paper. I love trying out new things. So I'm going to flip through some of my physical sketchbooks really quick and just show you what is here. And okay, so we have a couple of you who don't use a sketchbook at all. Well, hopefully by the end of this, I will convert you to maybe using one. No, you don't have to, but I do find that it is something that is going to really enhance your artwork. So one of my, I don't even know if they make these anymore, but these wind power drawing papers are some of my favorites. But these sketchbooks are from like probably 2004-ish. A lot of this work has, you see, I will diagram out. This is actually sketching out an idea for an art journal for this is for my first book, Collage Unleashed. So this is probably back around 2004 that I did some of this work. So you'll notice that I like to just kind of sketch out ideas first. And These are just in here. These are handbag ideas that I had. So I sketch all kinds of things, but inside here you'll see one of my favorite things to do is a adjective bank and brainstorm sessions. So a lot of times when I have an idea for a project, it starts with a list of ideas, a mind map. And so inside this, some of these sketchbooks have notes, some of them have collages. This is the only time I use magazines, is inside of an inspiration sketchbook like this. I don't put it in work that I actually paint to sell or anything like that. It's more for ideation. And so these sketchbooks have lots of the preliminary like beginnings of projects. So inside this particular one, I had an idea to do a collection of work and actually of paints that was all about the forge theme. And so sometimes I'll write words, sometimes I'll write techniques. And this was back, let's see, this one's 2018. So you'll see some of my mind maps inside of here of things that like record series through landscapes, plants, flora, garden, visual storytelling. So a lot of these are just like really quick ideas that I'll put on paper. And then some of the work that came from that was, I don't know if I have the actual sketches and the motifs in here, but you can see some of the fabrics and some of the patterns that I played with that theme. And so I'll play with color palettes and paints. A lot of these are handmade paints that I'm experimenting with the actual colors and the types of paint. So this was clay paint that I made. And then motifs, so mark making. And so this is what I was talking about, where it's not like a beautifully compositioned, page. A lot of this is really experimenting and playing with the supplies that I have, with the tools that I'm using to make marks. And sometimes it's writing, sometimes it is painting, and it's really documenting the entire process of a particular project. I've got pencils falling everywhere. And then there are times when I use some sketchbooks where I'm just working on like visual vocabulary. So lots of drawing and sketching, more so like in the sense of like traditional sketching. This is all motifs for a couple of projects that I'm working on. This is a series called Wild Blooms, which actually I created into a paint line and also some patterns. And I'm working on larger paintings using this idea. And so I put all of these like marks inside various journals, but I also use single sheets of paper too, which I don't know if I brought those Wild Blooms ones over here. Let's see. No, I think they're in my other studio. And then this here I wanted to show you because it's like there's just a bunch of randomness in here. So lots of color, lots of mark making, lots of scribbles, color palettes, lettering. This is for a variety of my watercolors and inks that I designed, just playing with the color palettes. And then you'll notice that like within different journals there'll be a series of paintings that are within like 4 or 5 different journals. Like this one, for instance, when I was working on about probably 10 different surfaces or 12 different surfaces. So when I open up other journals that were from that same kind of series, you'll see some of that artwork intertwined into other sketchbooks. And then sometimes I just work on loose sheets of paper too. I'm looking at your comments. Jessica says, I can't live without my sketchbook. I know. So fun. And sometimes it's technique journals. Oh, did I bring, is the other one here? Shoot, I think it's not. I forgot to grab it. I shared this journal, and it's actually inside of the Inspiration Sketchbook course. Not this one, but one that I had found at my parents', and it was like 20 years old. But it was just a technique journal of image transfers. And so I talk a little bit about that inside the program. I created this journal that just, it was pages and pages of notes and recordings of the different image transfer techniques I was playing with back then. And it was from like 2003, this journal that I found. But sometimes I have technique journals for paint techniques. So before putting it on, and this is why I love Inspiration Sketchbooks, because you can work out these ideas here inside a journal before you put them on canvas. So this was playing with some of the, what is this? It feels like it's golden, but it's got texture. I don't know if I read this, it will probably tell me. Self-leveling gel, maybe, with maybe the mica is in there because it's got a lot of texture. There's an interference color in there too. But I started, writing about some of the techniques and just kind of writing about, making marks. This is also a great way. I don't waste paint, so I clean off a lot of my brushes inside of journals because that way it's not going into the water. The paint's not going into the water. So this journal is back from like, I think 2015-ish maybe. But this is a handmade Inspiration Sketchbook. And one of the bonuses inside of my new program is creating a handmade little stitched mini inspiration journal or inspiration sketchbook. So this is made like a lot of my handmade journals over the years have been made out of recycled paper and all kinds of printed and found papers, lots of stitching. If you go back and look through some of my Instagram or even my old YouTube videos, you'll see some of the journals I've made since 2000 and inside Collage Unleashed. So last but not least, I just share this last one because I want to really dive into you all and let you play and experiment and brainstorm. So in this larger inspiration sketchbook, I have lots of black and white photocopies from photos I took. This was in Thailand or Bali, I can't remember. And then just some of the research I was doing this was for a ceramics project, but really playing with the mark making for what I loved about these pieces. And this is how I developed that visual vocabulary. It's looking at what exists, but also taking it, not copying it, but using it to create my own marks. And so that's part of the whole process that I share inside of Inspiration Sketchbook. So color palette, sometimes I will tip in process photos. So this was step by step what I did for making clay prints on my ceramics vessels, which was a lot of fun. So each sketchbook that I have differs. Like this has, I think this is like a wallpaper catalog. Big thing. I love wallpaper catalogs because they're so big, and then the paper is like really, really nice. So I just put lots of randomness in here. Like this is photocopies, and then I'll gesso over the top of them. And then I have like other inspiration that I've collected that still needs to like go inside. So sometimes I will just tip them in here like that. But I just wanted to give you an idea of what I use these for and how I use my inspiration sketchbooks. And later I'll pull out my digital sketchbooks. There are times when I actually also use, I also love to use just single sheets of paper, so they're not even bound. And that is because I will work on an idea or a motif and I want to keep painting it over and over. So I work pretty prolifically and very quickly. So I'll have a stack of paper where I just keep painting and making marks. So That is also an option too. If you don't want to work in a bound sketchbook, you can definitely work on single sheets of paper. Okay, let's go back here. So the first idea is keeping and creating an inspiration sketchbook. And we're going to move to the next one. If I can get my presentation to go. The next one is play, and it's all about experimentation, and it helps build your artistic voice. And how many of you would say that you play when you start your process? Like you just dive in and you just start throwing paint on the page for no reason, or you pull out a tool or a mark making or a stencil or a gel plate, and you're kind of just experimenting with color, experimenting with texture. Raise your hand or put, let's say, put the, just say that you start with play, or just write the word play in the chat. That would be great. I've got Karen says always. HF says yes, absolutely. Annie says I definitely play. Awesome, I love it. And play is really, I think, the second piece of what I do as an artist. I mean, I have a monthly membership called Play, where we play every month with new ideas, new techniques, and it's always been the foundation of my classes that I teach. And so when I taught in person, one of my favorite things about teaching in person was that I would get students who would walk out of the class, and at the end they would say, Tracy, I just felt so free and I was so excited because it was just fun and playful. There was no agenda. There was no like, you have to do it this way. This is the perfect way. And I think that when you give yourself that permission to play and to really experiment with anything, it starts to build your creative voice. And a couple of ways that we're going to do that. We're going to do a fun little exercise right now. And you need like a black pen, maybe, if you want. Or you could just use a pencil if you have colored pencils by you. I'm just going to give you a few different prompts. And I would love for you to take out a piece of paper, open up your sketchbook, open up your iPad. Actually, I think I'm going to do mine on my iPad. And I'll share a little peek of what I'm doing too. But I'm going to leave it to you all to play. And also, if you have a photo near you, so if you can open up your phone and look at your Photos app and maybe just choose any photo. It could be a photo of a landscape. It could be a photo of a flower. It could be anything that you've taken in, recently. And we're going to use some of that to do our play right now. And this is a fun exercise I love doing with my classes. And it's just really, it's fun to see what happens at the end of it. And so the first thing I'm going to have you do is grab your pen. And again, a black marker would be great if you have it. If not, no worries. I'm going to open up Procreate. Or you can use Procreate too. And I'm just going to create a new canvas. So what I'd love for you to do is to grab your brush or your pencil, your pen or your pencil, and make dots on your page. Whatever that means to you. No questioning, no, whatever. Just make dots. Now, connect those dots with some straight lines. And now, you can change your pen if you want. If not, Keep your same pen. Now, I would love for you to, in some of those areas, if anything connected and there's shapes, fill in one of the shapes with a pattern. I need to put my glasses on. So I'm not showing you mine yet because I don't want to influence what you're doing. Okay, now draw little like squiggly lines, whatever squiggly means to you. And again, you could change your color if you want, totally personal preference. If you're working in Procreate, you can make a new layer and then do this on a new layer so that all your motifs or whatever you're sketching are separated. Okay, now create a line that gives you the feeling of fast and movement, whatever that means to you. And sometimes this is fun to do when you're like standing up on a canvas, because then you can use paint and do this using paint. But you know, right now we're just doing this in a small setting. And now, next up, draw some circles. Any size you want. Any kind of, anywhere on the page. And then again, fill in your circles with some, or one of the circles or two of the circles with some sort of pattern. And if you're doing this exercise, I would love for you to take a snapshot of it and share it on Instagram and tag me at Tracy Designs. I'll write it down here and so that you know. And you could use the hashtag Inspiration Sketchbook and send it to me because I want to share what you're creating. And I think maybe for who, I'll choose maybe one random winner. And what could I send that would be fun for your Inspiration Sketchbook? How about I send that winner, whoever does this on Instagram, you have to tag me. I'll write what you're going to tag me, so you know what my handle is, and I'm going to share them in my story. But I think what I'll do is send you maybe one of my stencils and I don't know, some fun. I'll put together some fun Inspiration Sketchbook kind of little fun little toolkit for you. So you'll be surprised. But you have to tag me. Okay. And share your snapshot. Let me show you what I've been doing, and then we're going to do a little bit more play. Camera. Oh, let's get the lighting so that you can see. So this is mine, and I'm sure everybody's looks different. And this is the beauty of doing prompts like this. The beauty of it is that when you can't see what anybody else is doing, and there's no right or wrong, that you're making marks that are uniquely you. And you may look at it and you're like, okay, Tracy, this looks kind of crazy. But don't worry about it, because it's really that play. It's those things that we start to dive in and see what our natural mark making is. And, you know, I have the help of using Procreate, and I used, for this particular one, you can see the dots and the connected lines, my little patterns in there, the circles, the fast movement, the squiggly lines. But for this, I just used the same brush. I used the Inca brush for the whole thing. I put some of them on different layers. So if you're familiar with Procreate, there is different layers that you can put your stuff on. So then again, if I want to use this later for some pattern design work or something else, then I might, I might use a layer separately. So, oops, didn't want to do another layer. So within that, I don't know, what was that? Maybe 5 minutes. Some of us have some really funky abstract marks probably. And when I look at some of these, I'm really been influenced lately by landscapes, and like some of these lines I think come from that that body of work that I'm working on. Yesterday in my play community, we did some other abstract mark making from our photos, building out collage. So we're gonna do one. Let's see. I'll do that in a little bit because I want to get through the so get your photo out, and then we'll do that coming up so that you get to play, and you'll start to see how you can use these exercises, and you can do them both traditionally in a traditional sketchbook or on the iPad. I love working on the iPad too, because sometimes if I don't have time to bring out all of my supplies for the next one, I think I'll use some of my pencils and pens and things that are here, or maybe with some of my watercolors. So let's go back to my presentation. And so that was number 2. The second idea of unleashing your creative voice is to play, whether it's mark making, whether it's painting, but giving yourself that permission to just have fun with no no end, like not worrying about what the end result is, not worrying if it looks pretty. I mean, my little lines there can definitely be improved and put into something else, but it's just the start. It's that act of making the mark and just giving yourself that permission to play. Okay, let's go to our the third idea I wanted to share was, let me see how am I doing in time. Ooh, I've got to hurry. Is you, and what I talked about earlier with experimenting with your ideas, your stories, your artistic voice. And I want to do just a really quick exercise, and we'll do a little brainstorming thing. And I'm going to pull up one of my Procreate canvases so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. So how many of you have done or used a mind map before? And I love, there's so many of you that said play on here. Experiment with collage. I definitely play all the time. I love it. That's awesome. Okay, while I'm looking for this mind map, here's one. Let me know if you've created a mind map before. So I'd love for you to write, or you can do this in a mind map. I'm going to show you an example of what I'm talking about if you've never used a mind map before. I love this exercise because it's a really fun and fast way to just write words and get whatever's in your mind out on paper. And it's something that I learned in design school. My major, like I said, I got my degree in graphic design. And so one of the things that we did in our practice was to brainstorm and ideate when we started a project based on an idea or theme. But for now, I would love you to mind map you. And so to do this, you are going to write your name in the middle of the page, and then from the center, so you put whatever it is you're mind mapping. So in the center, there's my name. And then from there, you start to use little lines to kind of radiate out to make this like map. And this is like a really small mind map because I'm just doing myself, but mind maps can get very like intricate and can one idea leads to another. So this is just a simple one with your name in the middle. So when you start, what I'd love for you to do is grab another sheet of paper, and then just write your name in the middle. And then start to answer some of these questions. What do you love? What are you passionate about? So if you want to write some of those things, I'm just going to write. Oh, wait, I made that too small. A few things on mine. And again, if you are watching this in YouTube, I can't see the chat there. So if you're chatting with me, I put a link to come into Crowdcast if you want to join us for the chat. And so if I wanted to kind of extend some of these, so with mind maps, normally like you take an idea and then you can write a little bit more, and you would just keep adding to it. Like so. And are there things that you collect? What skills do you have? You could write, jobs that you've had. So all of these ideas create a story about you that you can infuse. Maybe there's a special place that you love to travel or you love to go to when you travel. Like for me, Lani Kai is one of my favorite places to visit every time I go back home to see my family. And again, that whole idea and theme became a paint collection. So, and a body of work. So very quickly, if anybody wants to share, let's see. Suzanne says, love mind maps. Vicky says, hate mind maps, but do use them, just hate writing. Yes, I know. Some people don't like them. So Annie, she said she hasn't used them before. So hopefully this gives you an idea of what they are. I have some, I think in my presentation, let me see. I thought I put some in here, but I might not have. Let me show you this while you're all doing that. Does anybody want to share what some of the things that you love are and the things that you're passionate about? So this was another one that I did. This one has graffiti, Lani Kai's on there again, family, flowers, garden, dahlias. So I've done a lot of work with florals, and I taught a bunch of classes all about painting flowers. And a few of my collections have been named from the garden and blossoms, and I really just love florals. So a lot of that gets infused into the work that I do. Linda says, reminds me of webbing process in high school. Yes. Vicky says, I do make word lists. Yeah, awesome. So sometimes I just write lists and I add in pictures. Like in here, I wrote, this was an exercise we did about just listing out the things that were our passions. And so again, I have dahlias, museums. What else does that say? Sometimes I can't even read my writing. So this is an option too. If you don't want to do a mind map and you just want to write lists, it's a great way to also just get your ideas out of your head and on paper, because some of these will spark more ideas. And inside my program, we talk a lot more about how to take these ideas that you have from the things that you love, and you start to really focus in on how you can turn those ideas and put them into your artwork through research, through play, through mark making. And a lot of it is this using these brainstorming and idea lists. And so number 4, yeah, and I would love to see some of your, if you did a mind map, if you want to share them on Instagram, that would be awesome. Oh, and I'll write my handle. Well, my handle is on here too. If you look on the side, it's at Tracy Designs here, TREIC Designs, or just search my name. Okay, and so number 4 is creative process. And I asked this earlier, do you have a repeatable creative process to brainstorm ideas, gather inspiration, and create a unique body of work? And so that's what I'm going to dive into next and show you just a little bit about what my creative process that I share inside of Inspiration Sketchbook is. I do a lot of these pictures here. Some of my process is sketching while I'm on holiday. So on the left, that was sketching on my sister's lanai. Digital is part of my process there, and imagery is a huge part. This is a photo I took from, I think, Ala Moana Beach Park when I was out there in the evening. And so a lot of those make their way into my Inspiration Sketchbook and then into the final pieces that I design. And so here's just a little sampling of some of those things. On the top left here, you see some of the Lanikai collection. This is a digital inspiration sketchbook for a tropical pattern. I don't know, you probably can't see it that well, but it's photographs that I took of some flowers in Hawaii and then translated that into a bunch of motifs and patterns. And then we'll talk a little bit about how and what I do to gather inspiration. So within this framework, the foundation is a sketchbook or a journal. So whether it's anything goes, handmade, stitched, store-bought, loose papers, which I just shared with you a little peek inside some of mine. And then a big part of what I collect is color. So lots of swatching, lots of color palettes. And in our program, you are going to be focusing on a project where you are going to capture all of these pieces and create a inspiration sketchbook and an inspiration board that kind of brings together all your ideas for the body of work that you're creating. I know some of the people in the program are wanting to make pattern collections. There's some that want to paint a series of paintings. There are some people working digitally and creating a series of collage sheets. So there are so many ways that you can take this framework and use it. A big part of what we'll be doing too is visual vocabulary. So that includes images, photos, color, mark making, and motifs. I'm going to be sharing some tutorials about how to really incorporate images and how to play with them and use them to really inspire the mark making that you do within your sketchbooks. So we'll do one more exercise, which I think I'll do that one towards the end so we can finish this. I want to just kind of get through the rest of the presentation. Sorry, I had to take some water. One of the big parts of my process is mark making tools. So found and handmade tools. If you have my book, any of my books actually, I share a lot of different ideas. Oops, sorry, little girl. Indy's right at my toes again. I put my foot on her head. I share a lot of ideas about how to create your own tools so that you have unique marks that you make. And so like on that third picture, I've got like a bamboo steamer like sushi wrapper as a tool. I've got toothpicks on that are on craft foam. I love handmade paintbrushes. I've been making those for years and use those in my art. And then lots of different handmade stamps. And in my book, I think it is it Printmaking Unleashed. Yes, I have a tutorial there about creating stencils from hot glue. That was like one of my first blog posts that went viral on Pinterest. It was crazy. Like it got picked up by so many different people, and it's so fun to see how that has inspired people even to this day. Like that blog post was over 10 years old, and people now are still discovering how to make their own hot glue stencils. It's such a fun project. So inside the framework, my inspiration sketchbook framework too, we dive into a lot of motifs and mark making and really using those as the basis for your larger work. And by repeating the process and creating this library, you have these marks that you can go back to time and time again. So you see some of mine that I've done over the years. Idea sketches, we talk about, I love either sketching with just a black pen. I also do a lot of idea work inside the Procreate app. And then there are times when I just love to collage to create some of my sketches. These were actually sketches for ceramic pieces that I was thinking about designing, the ones here on the right. And one of the final steps when I talk about my process is creating these inspiration boards, both digital and physical. So even you see the one behind me, I have a big inspiration wall, but I also love to collect and create these little flare trays in the middle there. So that's like different color and ephemera fabric and like ribbons and beads that have to do with the idea behind the project that I might be working on. Digital mood boards, another great way to capture your images and to create these digital collages that help you put together your idea for your project in one piece. So that's another part of the process that I share inside my program. So again, your creative voice, it starts with you, your inspiration sketchbook, where you find your ideas from your story, ideation and brainstorming, research, play, and then you just use those, whatever part of them, and repeat. So that's kind of the overview of the framework of what I teach inside of Inspiration Sketchbook. So I would love to invite you to join me. And there's a link underneath. We're going to do one more exercise after I go through this. And I want to just give you a little bit of an overview. There are 5 in-depth modules in this program, and I'll show you a little bit about them. I'm just going to bring up the course page, and then you can get an idea if you haven't seen this yet. And I do mindset trainings, so really thinking about like how to come to the canvas with creative confidence, how to create a consistent creative practice. We talk about fear of the blank page. We talk about sharing your work. So all those things that sometimes as artists, I think we think about, and sometimes it limits what we create. So that's part of this program. There are some fun mixed media tutorials. There are some new Procreate tutorials. And there is a beautiful playbook that's, I think 50 pages, and then lots of bonuses. So I'm going to share with you what they are. Let me pull it up onto the screen really quick. While I do that, I'm going to look to see what questions there are. If I'm going to do a Q&A at the end. So if you have to leave, I totally understand. You can come back and watch this. But I want to bring up the class so that you can see. Let me get out of my presentation over here. I love Annie's message. She says, I don't really have a process. Please help, Tracy. LOL. I love it. That's awesome. Yes, so I would love for you to join me inside of the program. When you click on that button underneath, it's going to take you to this. And let me just share it with you really quick. And then after this, we're going to do one more fun exercise and play a little bit. And then I'm going to leave you with some parting thoughts about what you want to create next. So if I can just find the right window. Here we go. So when you click on this, it'll take you to this fun page here. There's a video here if you want to watch, just really quick. It gives you a little peek inside a bunch of my inspiration sketchbooks and some of my process. But if you scroll down, you can find a whole list of what's happening in this program. So it's a mixture of pre-recorded video and live trainings that we're going to be doing over 4 weeks. And so you'll get access to each of the modules. They're going to be released over the 4 weeks. Even though there's 6 modules, some of the modules, there'll be 2 in each week. But you can read through all of this too. This is all the topics that are going to be in the class. And then here is the itinerary. So in the first module, we dive into creative journey and artistic process. So we talk a lot about you. We talk about mind mapping. I gave you a little intro to it today. And then I do a deep dive about ways to incorporate the digital canvas into your practice. And so you get an idea of how I use Procreate and the iPad in every part of my process. And then there's a fun bonus here where I talk a little bit and show the possibilities of Procreate, and there's some sketchbook prompts that you can do. And then each session there is the module for or there is a lesson about the mindset. And so we tackle fear in starting a project and talk about developing creative confidence. And then we dive into Inspiration Sketchbook in Module 2. So really talking about and showing you more in depth about the sketchbooks, giving you a few more sketchbook tours. I only gave you kind of a high level of what I have to show today. But we also talk about formats and how we work. And there is a talk about free flow play and using intuition versus kind of idea and theme based projects. And we talk about, what's right for you, because in the end, what you want to create has to do with you and what you love to do. And then we dive into what your creative project is going to be. And you'll decide on what you want to focus on during the course or for the season. It could be for 3 months you want to work on this project. And we'll talk about creating a consistent art practice, and you'll get to a peek inside more of my sketchbooks. And then in Module 3, we talk about ideation and mind mapping. But this is mind mapping your project. And we talk about research and recording your creative process using studio notes inside your sketchbook to really document what you're creating. We talk about storytelling, and you'll walk away with your mind map for your own project. And each week we have some fun mixed media tutorial that you're going to dive into. So for this week, we'll do some technique swatching. So that involves actually playing with a number of different supplies that you already have. I'm really encouraging you to use what you have. And then we'll talk about researching your theme, because that's a big part of how you get to a body of work that is different, that's you, that's not a copy of somebody else that you see online. In module 4, this is all about visual vocabulary, images, color, and play. You're going to go on an inspiration hunt for photos, and we talk about ways to do that and how to um, we're going to do some fun ways, and I'm going to show you how you can like use those images in different ways in collage and editing them out, and how we use them to create some really fun abstract mark making. This is where we'll dive into color, and you'll be working on a series of thumbnails and sketches, and all about your own theme. And so this is really a class where you're taking an individual project, and I'll be there to give you feedback and guide you too. And we'll have a few live session Q&As throughout the program, so you'll be able to come on and share your work and talk a little bit more about where you might be stuck, or if you need more ideas. I love doing ideation sessions where I help you brainstorm. And then we're going to talk about storytelling with photos inside this module there. And then the module 5 is all about gathering your inspiration. So everything you've done in the first few modules, you're going to take that and create a board, an inspiration board or a wall. And so we'll talk about digital mood boards, what I talked about and showed you earlier. And we're going to experiment with abstract digital collage. It's one of my favorite ways to use Procreate. But you can also do this project just with photos and on paper, where you do traditional collage too. So that week is all about inspiration boards and how we pull everything together to create your new collection of work. And this one, I think, is one of my favorite bonuses. In this one, I take you behind the scenes of the Thistle project for Strathmore. And I'm sharing some video, talking through what I did, and also sharing a few of the mixed media pieces and the tutorials. They're actually, you get to see from start to finish how I created some of the pieces for that. And then the last module is Catalyst. It's all about creating your project roadmap. And you may think, okay, well, I just love playing with paint. Why would I need this? But this is going to help you really get you in a place where you are creating art and building out a collection in it could be for the season, like I said. So I have a creative planner bonus that I'm going to be sharing with you that you get. It's a digital planner, which is awesome. I'll show you a little snippet of it. And we'll talk about how you can create or plan out your project. I'll talk about creating collections and how you can incorporate that into your work. And then I'm going to talk also in this lesson about how to leverage your artwork and use the Inspiration Sketchbook as a catalyst to create digital and physical products. This is like a small lesson in there that kind of gives an intro to what I teach in my Art to Digital Products, or my Art to Products signature course. And we talk about how to document your process. So I'm going to talk a little bit about video and how to share your work online. And the mindset here is also how to share your project and your creative journey. So I'm thinking for this one, I'm going to do a fun little tutorial about how I create my short form videos and show you. If you've been to my Instagram, you might have seen those. And I love creating them. They're really fast and easy to make. It's like doing a collage, but in video format. And then I've got a really fun bonus for this week, and it is a video lesson all about my Lani Kai collection and how I developed that paint collection. And I'm going to show you and walk you through the inspiration behind it and some of the work. So you see some of the inspiration sketchbooks and some of the paintings that I made for that collection. So if you sign up, and actually I extended this bonus till 3/10, I have a new fun workshop that I'm going to be teaching in April called the Abstract Playground. And so if you sign up before the 10th, you get access to this workshop, and it's going to be fun. This particular workshop is all about kind of that playful start. So the idea behind it is to create a bunch of backgrounds. I pulled some over here so you could see. I'll just show a few. Oops, drop something. But the idea is to work really quickly, and these are the first starts of pieces. So we're going to work with a lot of different, this is mixed media. This particular piece has super matte medium and watercolor and some probably gesso in it. We'll do some stencils. We'll work with different types, and I'm going to encourage you to use whatever kind of medium you have with in your studio. I don't want you to go out and buy a bunch of stuff. So there'll be lots of alternatives, but we'll do some mark making and layering of colors. So it's really the beginnings. So these are all meant to be the start so that later you can go back over and play and paint over them. So we'll experiment with lots of different things, stencils and gesso and scraping. So a lot of this work is just like really fast and fun. I'm going to show you how I use different types of paints with this. This has some mark making with some dimensional paint. And then we'll talk about also creating kind of more of these distressed backgrounds for your work and how I do those. Those are a lot of fun. And then one of my favorite things too is black and white. So we're going to talk a little bit about that too and how you can incorporate those as background. So that's the abstract playground. And we're also, I'll have like a little bit in there about how to take your photos and abstract them into marks using Procreate and using traditional supplies. So that is the inspiration. I mean, that's the abstract playground. If you want to join us, if you join the program before the 10th, you get access to that. There's two ways you can pay. You can pay in full, or if you pay in full, you also get access to one of my previous Inspiration Sketchbook classes, which is hold on. Here we go. The Inspiration Sketchbook Patterns and Colors and Letters. This is an awesome workshop. This is all the work I created in that workshop. So you'll get to create a graffiti masterboard. You'll be making color swatches. You'll be doodling a little bit. You also will be making some really fun lettering that I do in that class. So you get that as a bonus when you pay in full. And then we have a virtual retreat, and that's going to be on a 3-hour retreat on March 21st. And then if you can't make the live retreat, you can, everything is recorded. Anything in my classes is recorded. So you get this access to this retreat, and we're really going to do a deep dive to help you get to that place of playing, but also getting your inspiration, your project defined and figuring out what you want to work on. And then inside here, there's a bunch of other bonuses. I'm actually going to switch to my other, well, I'll just go through them here. There's a really amazing playbook that I've designed already that's in there. I actually going to add a few more pages. So it's about 50 plus pages, really, really colorful, lots of jump starts, lots of worksheets. There, you get peeks inside my Inspiration sketchbooks. There's the mixed media sampler bonus that I talked about earlier. This creative studio planner is amazing, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. And the mark making challenge, which is a fun 3-minute creative prompt mark making challenge. And then you get access to my private community also. So you can choose either pay in full or 2 payments if you want to join us. And again, if you join us by the 10th, you get access to the Abstract Playground mixed media workshop, which is going to be so much fun. I'm really excited about that. Okay, so let me swap back to my presentation and get this, and so we can wrap, because I know some of you probably need to go eat dinner. I need to feed my little sweetie puppy. in a minute. So I want you to just think about what it is you want to create for your next series. And then here's some of those bonuses that I was talking about. The behind the scenes Strathmore Thistle project is one of them. So you get to see that. And then here's the studio planner. I'm just going to show you really quickly it on my iPad because you'll get to see what I'm talking about, because you might be like, why do I need that? And I'm going to show you why, because it's a lot of fun. You can import it, you can print it, or you can import it into Procreate or NoteShelf and draw on it digitally. And so, let's see. Yeah, that's a good color. I just want to make sure the lighting was okay. And here is an example of some of the digital collage stuff that we're going to work on. Actually, I don't know if those are, yeah, inside one of the modules. And we'll talk about some of color palettes, creating color palettes from your photos. Here's an example of a digital mood board using your photos. So I show you techniques of how to cut and paste inside of Procreate. So we do both traditional and physical. So if you don't have an iPad, you can still take the class and do the mixed media portion. And I'll give you ideas, like you can still make this kind of collage traditionally versus doing it digitally. You would just cut and paste these the same idea, but you would do it inside your sketchbook, your physical sketchbook. I wanted to show you the planner. Where is that thing? Oh, here it is. So this is the planner inside of Procreate. So the idea for this is that you get to, there's a bunch of different pages where you can brainstorm your project. So there's sketch, you can actually use some of this for a palette. There are different project setups. So there's studio, like notes. You can cut and paste things. You can drop photos in there if you want. So I'm going to be showing how you can use this during our retreat. And so you get this as a digital file, and then there are also planner pages. So there is, like, this could be a day planner. So there's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday where you could write anything in here, but you can also use it as a weekly planner. Everything's undated in here. And more swatch pages. There is a year kind of planning calendar, so you can write out what you want to create each season. And then there is a whole year of undated, and I'm going to show you how I use those with that. So that's one of the digitals that you get. And you don't have to use it all in one planner. So yesterday we did some work, and I used it for this project. We did some really fun abstract motif sketching from photos. And this is one of the pages inside that planner. And so I pulled the color palette from what I was using, and then these were some of the sketches that we did. So that is one of the bonuses inside of the program. So I just wanted to show you that really quickly. And then you get the PDF workbook that I showed you earlier, worksheets, there's checklists in there, and this is the Lonnie Kite collection bonus that I talked about. I'm just going through the rest. And so, finally, before we go, I'd love for you to just think about, let me move my photo again because I'm covering the words. I really got to find a right place to put my photo during these presentations. What is your big idea for your next creative project? After going through the mind mapping and the exercise with the mark making and thinking about what it is that you love, does anybody have an idea of what they want to work on, or is there something you're working on now? I'd love for you to share that in the comments if you'd like. And if you don't have an idea yet, I encourage you to take some time to brainstorm what you'd love to create. Whether it is a series of paintings, it could be an art journal, a handmade book with a theme. That's always one of my favorite projects. Coming up in like late spring, I am going to be teaching a brand new course called the Pigment Journal, where we're going to do kind of a creative project journal that's all about paint making and creating a color palette of paints, but we're going to hand make a journal in that course. So you could create a project like that. And then you can brainstorm what colors, what textures, ideas do you have for this collection. And that's a little homework for you. And then once you have the idea, how can you turn it into a series of paintings? One of the best ways to really like really mine for ideas is to go through what already exists in your sketchbooks or your digital files. Like look back at some of your work and see if there's things in there. Like there's always times when I create random things in my sketchbooks, but they don't come into my art until like a few years later. Like the landscape stuff that I'm working on now, I went back and looked through some of my journals and sketchbooks, and there is kind of beginnings of that idea from like 3 or 4 years ago, but I kind of just put it on hold. So sometimes you might find some ideas that are already existing inside your sketchbooks. And I would love for you to spend some time ideating and brainstorming this, mind mapping it. One of my other favorite ways to mind map is to use Post-it notes, and then use your inspiration sketchbook to start creating and collecting your ideas. So I really encourage you to do some of this work and spend some time to sketch out your idea and think about who it is that you're wanting to purchase it if you're selling it, or who your audience is. How do you want to feel when you're working? What is the vibe or mood of the work that you're creating? So those are some of the things that we discuss and that we work on during Inspiration Sketchbook. So I really would love to invite you to join me. Oop. Let me go back. I was trying to move my picture again so that you could see. There we go. Oh, I moved the wrong thing. Okay, there, that's better. I would really love to invite you to join me for Inspiration Sketchbook if you want a guide and want me to help you through that process, and you're ready to dive in and to really hone in on your own creative process and play with mixed media and play with digital. And hopefully by the end of the course or the program, you have an idea of what you want to do. You have a beginning where you started to play and sketch and ideate, and you have a roadmap to get you there. And so class starts on the 14th, and we're going to kick off with a live orientation. And again, if you can't make it, then you can definitely watch the replays. Again, they're all recorded live. The classroom, there is a separate classroom hub, which is being built right now. It's not built, finished yet, but all my classrooms are hosted in Searchy. And maybe, I don't know, maybe this weekend I'll create a little video that shows kind of the inside of it so that you can get a feel for how it works. But in my classes, we do a mix of live trainings and where you can come on screen. I also do ones like this where I'm talking to basically the camera and sharing ideas with you. And then there's there's a lot of pre-recorded video. There are some replays from my previous Inspiration Sketchbook retreats, and then the PDFs and the community. So there is a lot there. I'm going to answer some questions. So again, if you have to go, I just looked at the time and it is getting late. Let me get these questions. Actually, I can't even see them because my, hold on. Let me pull it up on my iPad. My camera is in the way. And then I'll answer some questions. So if you have to go, again, and if you sign up by the 10th, you get access to the Abstract Playground workshop in April. And Crowdcast. Okay. So don't forget to tag me if you want to share what you created. I'd love to see what you designed during our play sessions. Let me move this paper because it keeps falling. And let me answer some of your questions. Okay. Carol says, when will your new book be available? That is a good question. I am still working on it. I'm hoping sometime later this year. I put it on hold last year because I had so many other projects that I'm working on. So once I have a firmer date, I will let you know. But it's all about the inspiration sketchbook and this process. So, but it goes, and it shares a lot more in depth of the process. Let's see. Ooh, things keep moving. What are you barking at? I don't know. She normally never barks. She's barking at the box. Hold on. It's her dinner time. I know, I'm almost done. How much of your class content is digital? Are you asking how much is like using the iPad? So there is a mixed media tutorial and a digital tutorial. I want to say it's probably like half and half as far as like showing you what I use, because I use the iPad and Procreate through much of my process. I kind of show you both, like if I am working on the iPad for a specific thing. So like there's editing some photos and photo collage using the iPad. But I also will give you ideas of how you can do the same thing if you wanted to just use your traditional sketchbook and show different examples of that. And then there are also mixed media tutorials where we play with techniques. So I don't know exactly the percentage, but I would say it's probably at least every module has some type of digital component to it because I use the iPad so much in my process too. I said, yes, this video will be available after. Yes. And then I already explained what the mind map is. Angela said, no, you said you have videos of your organization of your studio, but I can't find them. Where are they? Okay, so Angela's referring to my Play membership. I am doing a series of studio, like behind the scenes in my studio. And so, Angela, if you go to the Play Content Hub in the behind the scenes studio notes, you'll see like some of the organization videos in there. It's inside these are for members only. Let's see. Vicky asks, will you make a checklist for us of the program stuff you just went through for us? So there is a list inside the program, if that's what you're asking. You get a list of like the itinerary inside the playbook. But that's part of the program. So hopefully that answers your question. I think I got everybody's questions. I did have a few people email me and ask how long they have access. So like all my classes, the newer classes now, for this particular class, you have access to the lifetime of this class, the version of the 2023 version. So the version that you purchase, you have lifetime access to that version. So next year, if I update it or teach it again, then I usually will invite my alumni to come back at a discounted rate. So you get unlimited access, so you can access it 24/7, and it's all it's live, and if it's live, it's recorded, and then it's put into the actual content hub. So that's, I know, one of the questions that I get. If you choose the payment plan, you will be deducted the first payment today, and then the next payment will come out a month from, so 30 days. It'll be the same day of the next month, and then it's just a 2-payment plan. And I think that is everything that I think I got all the questions. Okay. So thank you all for joining me. That last exercise that I wanted you to do, I just kind of walked you through it, was really brainstorming your project and thinking about what you want to create. And once you have that, either diving in and going for it on your own. Maybe you're doing the 100-day project, and that would be a great format to kind of dive in. But if you would love support and you want to really develop your process, I encourage you to join me for Inspiration Sketchbook. So the doors will close next week, and if you want to join, I encourage you to get in now so that you can join us for the live session on the 21st, the retreat session. And if you need to go back and watch the replay, feel free to do that. And I hope that I see some of you in the class. And for those of you who don't join us in class, you can always watch my YouTube videos or head to my blog, or visit my tracibautistaCOLOR website. So if you go to tracibautistaCOLOR.com, you can see all of my handcrafted paints and inks. For those of you, I did see a couple of comments that you are excited about your orders that are coming. The winter subscription water media play boxes start shipping early next week, probably this weekend. Some of them will go out this weekend, but most of them will be shipping next week. And then if you ordered pigment bars and the mini collection, those will be starting to ship more towards the end of next week, and so mid to late March, because it takes a while to make everything and then let everything dry. And I will have a small set of watercolor pans and tiles available if you missed any of those. So look soon, probably in the next week or so, those will be available in my shop for pre-order, and then those will ship later in the month or early April, depending on when they dry. So the replay of this video will be available probably until the 21st or so, and then I will take it down, and then I'll put it inside the classroom. So you can come back until then and watch everything. And thank you, everybody, again for joining me. I know it was a long one, so for those of you who are still here, thank you. If you want to join me in Inspiration Sketchbook for this session, click the button underneath the video, and you can join me. And you'll get an automated series of emails that will give you some fun background and some pre-homework to do, really brainstorming your project. You get I think it's like a 12-page PDF that will come in the series, so you can start really thinking about what it is that you want to do. And then we're going to dive in starting on the 14th. I'll be sending more information about the live session kickoff. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see some of you inside of Inspiration Sketchbook. Okay, everybody, take care. Bye.